In today's video, I want to talk about the narrative arc. It's a useful storytelling technique that you can use to take your audience from point A to point B, where you are moving them instead of through a straight line, you're moving them through an emotional and a logical journey. So you're taking your audience from why should I care about this to okay, I'm convinced, let's do it. There are several parts of narrative arc. You can usually form your story in the way that fits best with your audience. But at a minimum, there's usually the plot, the inciting incident, the climax, and the resolution. And I'm going to walk through each of these parts of this arc in detail. So, first of all, we start with the plot. The plot is simply answering what is happening. Where are we today? What's the current state? Then there is an incident. There is the beginning of tension. And take note that this is usually the most important part. The beginning of tension is what's the problem? What opportunity are we missing? What is at stake? And then you've got to the climax of the situation of your story. And you're saying, here's what we have discovered based on this problem that we are facing. Now you want to take your audience through a resolution to a conclusion. So for this part of the graph, you're going to start telling your audience what should we do, considering what we have discovered. And then when we do what you're suggesting, what do we stand to gain? Or what do we stand to lose if we do not act? So that's kind of a summary of this narrative arc. And like the book says, the graph could take different forms. So it's not necessarily always it's going to look like this bell form in the book. But the most important thing is that you should experiment what will work best with your audience and the situation. So sometimes instead of starting from the beginning, like the plot, you can start with the climax. You can start with what you've discovered and then walk backwards and then take them back forward again. The most important thing is that you are helping your audience to go through the data in a way that leads them to your ultimate goal. So here the book says, the critical discussion, the options to weigh, the decisions at hand, you need to guide your audience through all of these things so that by the time you deliver your final point, your audience understands the data and knows what they need to do. They feel that compelling need to act based on what you have said. That way you would have successfully used the narrative arc. Now, an important thing I want to add to this is that for every interaction we have with human beings, especially in business, people want to have a reason to care about what you're saying. They also need to have a problem to solve and then a satisfying conclusion. So if you come to somebody and you're just talking about different things without clearly pointing out why they should care about what you're saying, you've probably already lost them. And maybe you have told them why they should care, but you're not really identifying a problem. Okay, so you've been able to narrow this down to this fundamental problem. You probably leave them confused. They're wondering, okay, well, now we know all these problems, but what are we supposed to do? So being able to identify the problem that needs solving is really important when making presentations. And it's also very good to show that you've thought through this problem and then you have a recommendation. You have a path that you suggest to be taken. And based on the data you've collected, you feel this path is going to lead to a satisfying conclusion. This is really, really important. And it's usually what separates the kind of junior level staff to more senior level people. Being able to clearly identify these three important things: a reason to care, a problem to solve, and a path to a satisfying conclusion is what makes you stand out when making presentations. Thank you for watching.